Q-tip, it's Brad Phelps. We finally programmed our NX7E instead of flying on the DXS, ready to fly for the Cleetus McFarland Carbon Cub S2. We'll show you the woes in the radio setup. All right, guys, so we had the DXS as a ready to fly on this Cleetus plane. Came with everything we needed, I think, except, did it come with the 2200 3S?
Yeah.
Okay, so we added flaps, and as you can see, we have flaps that activate and the elevator that moves. Look at real close so they can see the elevator, Max. You see it matching the movements? Mm-hmm. And we still have the full feature of AS3X and safe, also known as beginner, intermediate, and advanced mode, okay? So we're gonna throttle cut this, we're gonna lay it down, and we're gonna see how this works. I'm gonna warn you right now, we had the same problem with this particular model in its virgin infancy back when we did it with the DX18. But then I learned one more feature that we're missing on the NX7E. Full disclosure, you cannot slow down a servo channel. And you can do that on the DX, or excuse me, the NX lineup. So it's something I didn't know until we did this build. Mm-hmm. But we did come up with some mixes to make these flaps hopefully work a little bit more effectively. Throttle cuts off, takeoff flaps deployed. They are fast acting, which is unfortunate. Here we go. A little bit of wind today. Very much pulling to the left. Not sure why that is. Okay. But as you can see, I can go up and down. Look at this, up and down, right over the top. Look at this, up and down, up and down. Guys, you would think that that is not really a selling feature, but get this, if you do it on the DXS and you install flaps, I'm in takeoff flaps and the thing is flying absolutely fantastically, and it's windy. I'm an expert. Watch this touch and go, guys. Watch this, touch and go. Yes, I did mean to do it on grass ops. Look at me riding on the mains. That's something you're gonna really struggle to do with the DXS. Now, why? Because still in takeoff flaps. Because you can't get the elevator to match the correct position. As you can see, beautiful. Looks good in the sun, doesn't it?
It does. Definitely.
Oh, that bird.
Whoa, that bird.
Huge. Okay, now takeoff flaps, now landing flaps. Look at this, guys. Oh, I can go up and down. Look at the level flying characteristics. That's something you're not gonna be able to do. And look how slow it's going. So, camera crew, do you feel better about the time we wasted doing the radio setup now?
No.
Good answer. The truth is, folks, this is a beginner plane. People market this plane as a beginner plane, okay, out of the flaps altogether, and they preach it is a beginner plane. It is a beginner plane without flaps. As soon as you introduce flaps, it is extremely difficult to set up because of the flight controller and receiver. We said that in our unbox build radio setup when we did this Cleetus version. We said it, proved it in our radio setup video, okay? So now that being said, is it a good plane? Absolutely, it's not super calm and I can fly it upside down. On 3S, no problem. In the wind, reliably and comfortably, okay? Look at those beautiful stars and bars, guys.
Yeah, I love that.
Go America. Truth is, folks, if you aren't an advanced radiotician, is that a thing?
No, it is now.
Then you might want to just stick with the stock setup. I'm just gonna tell you that, and that is coming from Brian Phillips RC. I love flaps. It's one of my favorite aspects of flying, especially when I was brand new in the hobby. Easiest way to make this thing have flaps, look at those beautiful clouds. Thank you, Lord. The best way to enjoy this plane, put an AR630 in it, take out the receiver, take out all that crap you don't need, and you can have AS3X and safe. Those are the two things you do need as a beginner, and they will make this plane come alive. Guess what we didn't do? That. Full landing flaps. Look at this, guys. Watch this. It's gonna slow down, and it's gonna put down right where we want, okay? Beautiful. Still likes to tip over. I don't know why. Throttle cuts on.
Okay.
So what I'm getting at, don't interrupt my point just quite yet, camera crew. I'm gonna let you have a second here. This plane is a beautiful flying, amazing example of a carbon cub, okay? We can all agree on that. What we can't agree on is, did they use the wrong receiver and flight controller? And I agree that it's the wrong one. Horizon evidently has a lot of them sitting around they want to use and sell. Nothing wrong with that. Do what you got to do. But in the ready to fly package, this thing comes with the optional flaps. They should be better refined and easier to use and more effective, okay? Because I feel like a landing aid sensor and a GPS sensor, you don't need them. They're not helpful. I don't preach that they're good to have. That's why I've only used it once. And it was somebody else's plane that owned a hobby shop, okay? And we spent like an hour getting that thing to work. It was terrible. Now, the marketing videos show that it can be done, and so I know that it is possible. I don't think the average beginner could even remotely handle it. It is extremely competent, or extremely complicated, and I don't recommend it to anybody that's watching this video as a beginner. The reason I say that is because GPS geofencing speaks to people that need geofencing, not experienced pilots. If you're experienced enough that you want the feature, you don't need the feature, and you don't want the feature. If you're inexperienced enough that you need and want the feature, you don't have enough experience to set it up.
Right.
And that is coming from Brian Phillips RC. We've done thousands of tutorial videos on how to set these things up, and you will see me come unglued in this radio setup again. Okay, throttle cut, takeoff flaps, landing flaps. But I gotta say, stall action. Finally, we have it. Okay, takeoff flaps now.
So we like to recommend ready to fly planes for beginners because you get your transmitter, it's easy.
And you don't have to buy a bunch of random things.
Right. So if you want this plane, if you follow Cleetus, if you like the plane in general, whatever, get it as a ready to fly. And then when you want flaps and you want a programmable transmitter, get an apprentice, get a timber, get your next plane, and then do that thing.
Get an AR630
but
and just plop it in. Because it's such a good plane and it deserves better from a radio setup standpoint. But as I'm saying that, I'm watching my flight and I'm thinking, what a great flying plane. And that's exactly the way I felt, even with the stupid angle of incidence. Okay, so check this out. So, full landing flaps. This is what you're gonna get on your ready to fly. A stall, okay? All right, folks, our camera overheated, and I was just expressing some concerns about the high alpha configuration that you're gonna be locked into if you fly this on the DXS. You could watch that flight if you haven't seen it. It's in this playlist. We're gonna take back off. I'll re-demonstrate my exact concern, okay? Takeoff flaps deployed. Full throttle. Don't know why it's veering to the left like that. It might be just a wind thing today. Okay, so I'm gonna get right back in the same spot so you guys know I'm telling the truth. This is what we do on Brian Phillips RC. Full truth, nothing but the truth. Full landing flaps. This is me pulling the elevator. Look at this. That's what you're gonna get. Now I'm just flying normal. Look, hands off, guys. It flies great. We set it up good, but the thing is we've lost the delay. I can tell you this, the delay is missed, but it's not absolutely necessary, okay? Because I can tell you this, when you watch our unbox build radio setup and you see the frustration we went through, I call it the unbox build radio setup, but the truth is it's really just a radio setup, okay? Because all we're doing is setting up a ready to fly with a programmable transmitter, okay? One of the hallmarks of Brian Phillips RC is we tell the full truth, nothing but the truth, even when it's inconvenient, okay? Inconveniences are a big part of filming things that should work that don't. Horizon makes a mean plane. They do a good job. They're some of the best planes that we have, and they are retail offerings most of the time. Sometimes they do really premium planes, but generally we don't review those because they're way too expensive for the average Joe. But I mean, we love them. They're good. This is a good plane. It's well done. Here's my complaint with this plane, and it's the same complaint that I actually articulated multiple times, is that the flight controller locks them into doing things in a way that no other plane does except for the Habu STS-70, and that's it. That's pretty much the only two planes that use this. And my issue is, you don't need to have an intermediate step. The intermediate step does nothing for anybody. Fly in beginner with full safe or fly in expert. I'm telling you from experience, it's what you want, it's what you need, it's gonna help you get where you wanna be. I've been flying 10 years, I know what I'm talking about. I don't often push my opinion on you. This is one of the times I will. This is a great plane. It does the things you want it to do. It does it well. But it's the wrong receiver and flight controller for such an amazing, prolific plane. I would love to see this in a plug and fly or sold as a ready to fly with an AR631. Forget about the landing aid, forget about the GPS, they're unnecessary, and actually compromise a beginner's ability to enjoy such an amazing aircraft for a variety of reasons. Notwithstanding the ready to fly option. If you are flying this plane as a ready to fly, it is amazing out of box experience, okay? If you are flying it with GPS and landing aid sensor, it's just too much, too complex, and not helpful. Keep that right there. We're working ice packs, guys. At the end of the day, I love this plane, and I know you will too. But I found another flaw in the NX7. It's not a flaw as much as it is absent feature from the rest of the lineup. Viability for delayed flaps is lost on this particular model, but we have managed to make it still work very good. Our unboxed build radio setup portion of this, which is going to follow at the end, is going to show you the full frustrating package of delight that we opened. And that's called setting this up.
Yeah.
We should have just done the NX10, frankly.
Right.
If we would have ran into just a couple of loose ends that we could have tightened up on this package. But I'm going to tell you what, this is still a great option for a beginner.
It is.
It is rare that you need to tap this feature. You want to know why? Because of the flight controller choice.
Right.
And by the way, for like about $100, you can buy an AR630 and you can stick it in there and you can pull all that other stuff out and you can have an amazing experience. You lose the front light that's got that little red, blue, or green. I don't care. You won't either. Promise.
You'll have audio events and other things to tell you what mode you're in.
The telemetry will still be partially available. You're right. You would know the Avian ESC should still be there.
Right. And then you can set up audio events on your transmitter.
You can set up audio events, yeah. If you go to the NX, you'll have audio
Yeah.
events too. So at the end of the day, opinions matter from people that have them, but that doesn't change yours necessarily. And you don't have to align with my opinion to at least acknowledge a couple of details that we're correct on. And I'm just trying to avoid the wind getting in the mic, guys. I'm not being weird here. There's just wind. This plane flies good. It looks good. It does the thing you want it to do. But just remember, when you get ready to go up to the programmable transmitter, if you're buying it as a bind and fly, and you're gonna be doing flaps, that's a trifecta of frustration. If you're just gonna get this as a ready to fly or a bind and fly and then put it on and not add flaps, you're probably okay.
True.
But the truth is, you can't set the wing type. And because of the way that Airware runs wing types, doesn't work with this particular receiver well, and you will understand why, okay? When you set this transmitter up with that flight controller, you're gonna see the frustration. We show it to teach, not to beat Horizon over the head. We love Horizon, they're a great partner, and we wanna see them succeed. They are the big one. You know, sometimes they get a bad rap, like they're crushing the competitors or whatever it is. Everybody ought to be trying to crush each other because that's what should happen in a capitalist society. I want Horizon to try to crush FMS. I want FMS to try to crush Buddy. I want all these different companies to be working for our dollars hard. I want them fighting for the best they can give us. Now, I want us all to win together. Truth. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean we hold back because the truth is going to help you guys make better decisions, okay? Now, does that mean there's anything wrong with this plane? No, it's just not the way I would do it, and therefore, we offered a solution. The solution is AR630, AR631, either one would be fine. AR637T if you really want to go crazy, but you don't need that telemetry. It doesn't add anything to your flight, your experience, in my opinion, especially not for a beginner. We'll teach you how to do all the things you need to do to make that plane fly with an AR630 or a 631. All you have to do is just watch like our Carbon Cub video, or excuse me, the
J3 Cub.
J3 Cub. We did the J3 Cub for Hangar 9, so that means we had to set up the transmitter and the radio because it's a plug and fly. You can follow the radio setup on that. There might be some like minuscule differences from plane to plane.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, We're gonna help you squeeze every bit of delicious life out of these RC experiences. Because we know that not everybody is gonna have 400 of them sitting in their living room and 300 helicopters. It's just not normal. We live in the realm of abnormality. But we're only doing it because you're here supporting us. And that's part of the reason why we're so careful to be blatantly, sometimes painfully, frustratingly honest about things that shouldn't really need to be talked about. We should not have this problem. Airware should interact with beginner planes better. It's confusing. It's difficult. And I know what I'm doing, okay? But when you watch this video, you're gonna think I'm some know-nothing noob that just started this yesterday. We have thousands of videos, hundreds of thousands of followers, millions of interactions. We have helped tens of thousands of people get started, just like you. And we want more of you there. We want more of people loving this hobby with us. That's why we tell the truth. Because at the end of the day, the Chinese will lie enough for all of the Americans that are buying their stuff. Okay? Let's keep flying for a minute. Take off flaps. Here we go. Beautiful. By the way, I apologize for our little interruption because of the overheating. That is something we haven't actually had a problem with this year.
No, we haven't.
This is the first time. And honestly, it is really hot. It's a dry heat today. By the way, there are some features that come with this plane that you don't absolutely need that are very nice. Let me tell you one of them. You have a screen that shows a battery and it lets you know how much juice is left. That is very good. And by the way, that was a wind shear that pushed me down. But it was a perfect touch and go. Thank you, Mother Nature. And if you're brand new to the hobby and you're looking for a no BS technical type of person that can help you get in the air with success, look no further than Brian Phillips RC. We're gonna help get you there. We're not gonna give you a line of BS that's gonna say, buy this, buy that, buy the other thing. We're gonna tell you what to buy when it's awesome. And we're gonna tell you when it's awesome, even if we don't like it, okay? Because there are things I don't care for that are awesome. And things that I hate that are awesome, according to the sales managers. This plane is very good, but it is certainly not flawless. Flawless planes don't exist. And as soon as you hear that they're flawless, you can smell the BS through the screen on your smell-o-vision, okay? This plane is very fun. It does a lot of things really good, and it does a few things not so good, okay? We hope we have established what those things are in this video, and we're gonna step into our unbox build radio setup portion, which in this case is just the radio setup because we're going from the DXS to the programmable NX7E. Now keep in mind, if you decide, trying to release this lanyard right now, yeah, that does actually work, believe it or not. It just doesn't want to unlock well. If you want to start with an NX7, it's a cheaper place to start. But I'm going to tell you this now, and I'll tell you every single time I suggest this as a cheaper option. Just get what you can tolerate spending money on. You will never regret a more expensive, more capable receiver, but you will regret occasionally, and only occasionally, a cheaper, less capable receiver. But the worst thing I can tell you is if your budget is what's driving this choice, this budget is wasted when you move to the next one, unless you've got somebody that's next of kin that's going to be flying with you, like your kid or your spouse or your friend. And that's where it is really helpful, because you could set this up as a slave and the master, and you can do trainer, and you could do buddy boxes, and this can be theirs, and that can be yours, or vice versa. You can even use the DXS with this, but you have to buy a module for it, so I wouldn't recommend it. Just buy another one when you get the money saved up, and use that as your primary transmitter, and then use this as your trainer, okay? There's always a good application for these things, but I just don't want you to have to stretch yourself into these marketing widgets, okay? The truth is, that plane's well done. I just would never pick that particular receiver and flight controller. At the time, when they first released this, it did things that you couldn't do. Now it doesn't. Now it's inferior to the run-of-the-mill receiver, if you ask my personal opinion. Why? Because we've done it hundreds of other times and had great success, while we've struggled and frustrated our way into a actually good flying plane again, okay? The other thing too is, I'm gonna say this a little bit controversial. I'm gonna block the wind. The DXS plus flaps equals experience. I still don't necessarily recommend the DXS and the flaps on this particular, or the original Carbon Cub non-Cleetus version, or Carbon Cub Patey's.
Oh, Chandra Patey.
Chandra Patey version, okay? So depending on which version you get of this, I don't even know if they sell the Chandra Patey. I think that was a limited run.
I think it was a limited edition.
But it doesn't matter which one. I believe they're really
have
similar.
that one
The
still.
tires, I think, are a little bit improved. The landing gear, a little bit improved on this, if I recall, because I've had really good luck with these landing gear.
Yeah.
The previous 2 or 3 we've had have been really so-so on landing gear. Landing gear are very good on this. Tires are very good on this, okay? So lots of positive things on this model, but frankly, I'm big on radio setup because we train people to do it. When we run into problems, that translates to opinions from Brian Phillips, RC, okay? We're gonna show all the details next. Stay tuned, learn what needs to be learned, but we are going to satisfy your curiosity by showing the full, unadulterated frustration as we work through it. And by the way, 0 adjustments made to this setup.
Yeah.
So whatever we did in that translated to a beautiful outcome, even though there's no time delay on the deployment. And we couldn't tap into the flap system. So enjoy the waffling and support us if you want to. Guys, the best way to support Brian Phillips RC right now, smash the like button, click the bell for notifications when you do subscribe. There's so much content right around the corner. I can't elaborate because most of what we do, we can't tell until it's released. Also, on this plane, buy it from the links, video description below. That helps us to earn the privilege of working with these companies that it used to be hard fought to do that. Evidently now it's a little bit different. But when we started, it was hard. And now it seems like just about anybody can do it. Okay? So we take that very seriously. We invest so much of ourselves, we can't articulate it on a short clip. It would take hours to explain. And I'm not just talking about building runways and building buildings. Yes, those are trusses. They're 64 feet long. But there's just so much of our family that we pour into this experience because I love this hobby and my family loves me, okay? So don't make that in vain. Buy these from the links in the video description below. Help us earn a few bucks while we do it. That'll take the sting out of it for my wife to a certain extent. And then also, when you do decide that this plane is maybe not the right one for you and you want to go straight to the Hangar 9 J3 Cub or the Hangar 9, or that was an E-Flight SWS, the Timber. The Timber. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a wood sport flyer or whatever.
Sport wood series.
There you go. Or the Timber 1.5 or whatever it happens to be that might be a better fit for your application. Because that's what we do here, is we help you understand what the truth is and you fit it into your own world, okay? Not what the marketing managers want to sell, okay? They want to sell whatever they released, no matter how good or bad it is. We want you to buy whatever's that's gonna fulfill you the best, okay? And we're gonna help you understand that. That's what we do on Brian Phillips RC. And even if you buy something that's maybe not as good, we're gonna try to squeeze out as much value as you can possibly have you went away. It's fun. So at the end of the day, guys, 4 other ways to support us, or 5 technically. Patreon for monthly support. Thanks for supporting us monthly. YouTube super thanks for one-time donations. YouTube members for monthly support is an alternative choice. And then PayPal if you want to send a few bucks. We only list these because people want to support us. For years we didn't, and for years there was people asking. I know it sounds ridiculous. I never wanted to do it. We do it because you guys have asked us to do it. Thanks for doing your part and tugging the line with us. Because remember, this hobby is huge and it needs to be 10 times huger than it is right now. It needs to be touching way more people in society. It's a great, wholesome, family-friendly, intergenerational, amazing, productive, safe, enjoyable, frustrating, expensive, and wonderful hobby. We're gonna get you into it here on Brian Phillips RC. Stay tuned. Radio setup next. YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. You guys already saw the flight, but we're gonna do the radio setup portion of the flap mod / going into the programmable transmitter realm, because obviously as much as we like to be able to say that you can fly on the DXS, which you absolutely can. As soon as you introduce flaps, it introduces problems. And we've said that from the beginning, and we'll continue to say that until the cows come home. But since they're still across the street and they don't belong to us, I think they already are home. So we're gonna do it now. That being said, we are currently live on the plane. We had everything turned on this time. And what we're gonna do is eventually we're gonna need to get in here and rebind this plane. So just keep in mind that we do have a bind plug, that we're gonna need a bind plug, and we're gonna be plugging into that port there. Now, if you really wanted to press the push button, you can take off the wing. So like if you're doing the flat mod at the same time, leave the wing off and rebind it while it's opened if you want. Okay, but for us, I'm just gonna lay this down, and I wanna show you one somewhat dangerous step we're gonna do that I wouldn't recommend necessarily for you at home, but since for the sake of video, we are gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna turn off this transmitter right now, and just as a safety precaution, I'm gonna hold the plane and turn this off. It's gonna go into failsafe. You see it's in failsafe, so it would be going in a nice circle with auto leveling, but this is no longer in this application. So the first thing we have to do is make a decision between the NX10 and the NX7E. So for the average Joe that's just getting into the hobby, the NX7 makes a lot better sense because it's a lot cheaper, okay? The NX10 is great. They have a lot of the same features, a very, very good transmitter. This has sliders on it. It also has better gimbals, which are totally unnecessary in my opinion. For the average Joe, you're probably not gonna need that. So for that reason, we're gonna go ahead and set up on the NX7E. You notice the screen is also a little bit bigger on the 10, it's a little bit smaller on the 7E, but this also is absent one other feature, and that is the audio events. So the reason I have this on, I happen to be on an Avios product, ironically. We're gonna scroll down to System Setup, Disconnect RF, and then it's as simple as this. You can go into spoken flight modes. You can go to warnings and telemetry to set up audio events, okay? It's super easy to be able to do it. Now there would be volts on this one. You would just set it to the proper number of cells. In this case, it's 3. Now this is set up on a different plane, just so you guys know, so I'm gonna delete this in a second. And then I would do warning reports, with 15-second updates, something like that, okay? Then you just turn on your minimum voltage to a voice or something like that, whatever you want it to be. In this case, full disclosure, I am inhibiting it all back to what it was because this is not even supported on this particular plane. We use an AR631 that doesn't have any telemetry on that Avios, okay? So we can turn this one off because we're not gonna use it. But just wanted to let you know that is definitely a good choice, unless you have 250 models in there and you're out of model memory, okay? So first things first, we have to create a profile. So there's a couple different ways to do this. We can go through the setup in the manual, which is something we almost never do anymore, because here's why. The setup from the manual is different on this particular radio system, okay? Because they have the satellite receiver and the flight controller, okay? So as a result, we need to actually look until we find the setup, okay? All right, so on channel 19, camera crew is gonna just pull the camera way up so you can see the whole page. She's gonna let go because you're not high enough. Okay, so if you needed to pause the screen, you've got it, or you can just click the link in the video description below, go like you're gonna buy it, and then download the manual. You can open it there, okay? So the binding procedure is pretty simple, but we'll get to that after we make our profile. So the bind and fly basic transmitter setup is gonna be here, and because we're not in the IX, we can move over to NX. There we go. So that's what we're gonna be looking at today, and not necessarily these two, okay? So power on the transmitter, click the scroll wheel, system setup. Okay, so we'll just try doing this, cancel and back, add new model. We're gonna create an acro. That's an acro, by the way, okay? Once we do that, then they're wanting us to input a name, okay, which we're gonna do. So I'm gonna go over here. So this is number 10 : space. We're gonna type in Carbon Cub, Cleetus McFarland edition. Ah, that's not gonna fit. So what are we gonna do? Like CC?
I don't know.
Well, we'll come up with something, come back and let you know what we scrolled in. All right, so we got the Cleetus spelled wrong, McFarland, Carbon Cub S2, okay? That's what we did. You can do whatever you want. Aircraft type. So they're telling us the aircraft type over here. Do they tell you? Aircraft type. Well, I don't know. I don't care.
Okay.
So I'm going to change this to flap. And if I recall, we have problems with that at some point. If we do, we'll obviously report that back. We're going to select from the standard images. There is a Carbon Cub in here. And ours has landing gear right now. So we'll do that. Flight mode setup. We are going to set up flight modes on switch D, not on switch B like the default is. And flight mode name setup. This is where you can name the different flight modes. I'm probably not going to name the flight modes, but I guess maybe we should. We'll show you how to do it. Okay, so highlight, cancel, cancel, clears it out. And then this one is going to eventually be beginner mode, which is different.
Right. Yes,
and that's why I'm naming them, because beginner mode is different than full safe. Is it GG?
Which one?
Beginner, okay. How about begin? I don't know if beginner is actually going to be something we can do for an audio event. Oh, we can't do audio events on this one,
right,
so no big deal. Then flight mode 2, highlight the first character, cancel, cancel, or escape, escape. And this one's going to be intermediate.
Could just be like INT.
Maybe. So we'll do enter, like the enter button. Intermediate.
Shouldn't spell or do math on camera.
What are you talking about? Didn't I get this right?
No. Oh, maybe. Is there 2 M's? Whatever, it's fine.
Good enough. Intermediate. Highlight. Whoops. Cancel, cancel. This one's going to be experienced or expert. I don't know if it's expert or experienced.
I don't know what it is either.
Look at the window. Show the people. Do you see the meow?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so experienced. Expert. And you're probably thinking to yourself, why don't you just do AS3X and safe? Well, because this has a flight controller, it's set up different, okay? All right, so I don't know what channel we want to assign to it yet, but we will figure that out eventually. Now, if you look right here, it says dual rates and Expo are going to be tied to all these different switches. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to do them all on switch F. That's the way we like it. So the rates are going to be on switch F. Throttle cut, we obviously want to set up, but I do not know the channel yet. Ooh, channel assign. Gear is channel, change A to switch B. So looks like gear was controlling. Previously on this, switch B was controlling our mode. So that's gear, okay? So we want to make the channel assignments. All right, so switch A had been gear, but they want that to be B now. So I want it to be D, okay? And that's incidentally also going to be the flight mode. So you could also scroll all the way to F mode. Okay, so that's going to control gear. And then flight mode setup is set to switch D. So D inherently switches G now. It switches gear.
Okay.
If that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, just watch the rest of the video. It will make sense at some point. Okay, so then flaps. Why do they have that grayed out?
I don't know.
Oh, because you're going to assign it in the flap menu.
Okay.
So I unattached B, Bravo, from aux 7. I don't think we're going to need to mess with the with the rotary knob on this, so we'll just cancel out of that one. And then there is technically a panic. Okay, so change D to I. So D needs to be changed to I. So aux 1. Aux 1. Oh, dang it. You know what aux 1 is? That. Son of a biscuit lover. I knew there was a reason we couldn't do that. So they already have flaps pre-assigned to channel 7, but I don't want flaps on channel 7 or on channel 6. And I don't know if there's a way to do it. Okay, so one of the problems that we have with doing the programmable transmitter setup, and they don't speak to it at all in here, which is pretty annoying. They don't talk about the flap settings at all, okay? But where do we do flap settings?
Optional flaps is there where your thumb is.
Where?
Over here, it talks about installing them, but it does say to put it on port 8, which is what we did.
Yeah, we're on port 8. And it's usually switch D. So aux 2. But they don't think about the fact that now we aren't going to have the mixing. Well, which is really annoying. We'll have to figure it out, okay? So channel assign, you can see how it says flap on channel 6. Well, channel 6 is used on something else for this plane.
Right.
And that's why this gets so frustrating on this stupid flight controller. So, yeah, before we get too much further, let's go to aircraft type and let's change this. Let's see, gosh, what can we do? We can only go, okay, so what I would really like is I would like to have one of these wing types that would allow us to just change it.
Wait, can you do 2 ailerons and 1 flap? Because there's 2 aileron cables in there.
You have to. That's right. That's true. Good point. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Good point, camera crew. So let's go back to channel assign now. So yeah, so there's your left aileron. Ooh, so where's flap? Oh, flap is on 5.
And that's not right either because the ailerons are plugged in right next to each other.
So it's almost like, okay, this is what we've run into before, guys. Full disclosure, the aircraft type. So that's why I hate when they use this flight controller. And guys, this is a beginner plane, okay? So a beginner plane that's marketed to beginners for beginners. And just because it flies good doesn't mean it's easy to set up, okay?
Right.
In fact, it's got me this close to just saying, screw it and put in an AR630 and be done with it. Because it would solve all these problems. But like the beginner's not going to want to replace the receiver.
Right.
Okay, so I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up as a normal wing type for now, which is really annoying, okay? Then I'm going to go back to, it's still on switch D. Looks like aux 6 is attached to D, which is not what we want. We want gear not to be inhibited. We want gear to be attached to flight mode, which channel 5, by the way, is flight mode, okay? So we're gonna highlight this, go to flight mode, or highlight this and exercise switch D, which is gonna do the same thing. In this case, I'm gonna highlight this and put it to all the way to the left, flight mode. Then this, I'm gonna disassociate. And then this, which is aux 7. Wait, do we want aux 7? No, it's channel 8.
Yep.
We're gonna highlight that and set it to B right now, Bravo for flaps, okay? But it's still not gonna give us our mixing and stuff that we need, so we're gonna have to come back to it and figure it out. That being said, we have additional channels that we have never had before. Whoa, what the heck is going on up here? Why would that be there? Gear on channel 13? What the frick mode?
Why is gear over there? It's like it just didn't switch the...
I don't know, but we're just gonna go with it for now. Okay, guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, we show the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. What that means is that we will show problems that we find as we're unfolding the mystery that is making airwar work with obnoxious beginner setups, okay? Beginner setups should be easier, not harder. Okay, continuing along with. All right, so let's just walk out. Let's get the most critical stuff done. Rates in Expo. We're gonna set this up like we always do. We're gonna go to switch F. I'm gonna have a 5% Expo, then a 10% Expo, and then a 20% Expo. And you're like, but Brian, they tell you to do it different in this section. Yeah, I don't care what they set, okay? This is highly subjective. You can do whatever you want. Okay, so I dropped the rates down to 90%. So this is where I start. I have a doubling, so it's the softest sticks. Then I have a halving, so that's the most sensitive sticks. But I start in the middle, okay? And then I mimic that for all 3 settings, okay? That would be the 3 primary axis of control, which is pitch, roll, and yaw. So of course we're doing pitch now because this is the elevator. Okay, and we'll drop the rates down. And then we're gonna do rudder. And we'll put that to switch F. We'll start with 5. Then we'll go to 10. So we're gonna basically be defaulting our normal flight performance to 10% Expo, regardless of the mode of flying, okay? There we go. Okay, very good. All right, so we got all 3 of those set up. Throttle cut. Turn it on to switch H. Verify it's working by looking down at throttle on the monitor, and it is. It's at -100. Now I turn it off, and it comes to life. Throttle cuts on. It's now locked at -100, so we're good there. And then we're going to have to do some different stuff here at some point, but for now, let's go back to system setup before we forget. Let's go to channel assign. Which channel was I? Aux 1 to D, or from D to I. So that would be technically aux 1.
Yes.
Why did they start saying aux 5, 6, 7? It just confuses everybody.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. Okay, so switch that to I. This is I, okay? So now I will do the panic setting, okay? So we've accepted that. And then we wanted gear to be switched to switch B. Well, in our case, aux 8 is actually going to do B, but then where's gear? F mode. Okay?
Right.
Yep, so we should have all 3 set now. Okay, so now at this point, we should be able to bind. Throttle holds on. I'm going to go to monitor. Look at all those channels, guys. Isn't that beautiful? So that's going to move the flight modes. You can see it says beginner, intermediate, expert. We might have to flip the direction of that channel. We'll get to that in a minute. Obviously, we have Expo set up here. We have throttle hold here. And then we have, looks like aux 8, which is technically aux 2, on channel 8, rather. Okay, so let's go ahead and bind this. Remember, this is powered up because we had the battery plugged in earlier for our demo at the startup, and you can see it's in flashing evil eye because it's in failsafe. You see the rudder moving? Okay, so I flipped it upside down. It's probably freaking out right now, like, oh no, cannot compute correction, going too slow. We'll just unplug the power, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna prepare for binding by pressing, we'll go to bind, disconnect RF, and be ready, okay? So in order to do this, I have to pull this little cable up. Hopefully I can reach with the battery in there. I feel like I might not be able to reach. Nope, I can. And as per 100% of the time, the stupid bind menu kicks me out. Why do we have a timeout on the bind menu, Spectrum? Change it. Oh, it's so annoying. Okay, so I'm gonna put this right here. Just stay in the bind menu. Okay, so now that's in bind. So I'm gonna click, I'm gonna scroll down to bind, disconnect RF bind, binding. Bind failed. Why? What's the frame rate? Hybrid 12, 22. Not supported by older receivers. Not supported by older receivers. Hybrid. Let's try that. You see it's at 10 channels now.
Oh.
Okay. Bind. Binding. It timed out. The bind timed out. Okay, so out of bind mode. Plugging in the plug. Now I'm gonna just reset the power. Now I'm gonna try binding. Good Lord, you'd think they would tell you all this stuff, but it's not doing it. So we're gonna go back to bind. We're gonna try it again. I don't think it's gonna bind. We gotta change something. Okay, so we can go back to frame rate. What was the default? Hybrid?
No, that's what you changed it to, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Had to have been that. That one.
Yeah, but see the channel count? Oh, goodness gracious. Let's just do hybrid channel count. 14. There we go. It's already timed out. Okay, we're gonna try this again. We're just gonna power cycle it and see if we can get it to bind. And I'm guessing it's not gonna bind because it doesn't like that setup. The other thing too is I guess I'm not 100% sure that it's not already trying to bind because I don't see any lights in here. It's really difficult to know for sure that we're in bind mode. I can tell nothing of it being on or not. So we're gonna go back into bind. Excuse me. Frame rate, automatic. Okay, I guess we'll try that. See how it says channel count 20? Mm-hmm. Guess we'll try 14. And then we'll go to bind. And I don't think it's gonna work, okay? We're gonna try again, just replug the battery. Bind failed. Okay, so we failed several times. Why will it not bind, okay? All right, so we're gonna try one other thing here just because we're struggling with this. We're gonna plug this in, wait for the series of beeps. I can see a big red light flashing. We're waiting for the beeps, okay? Don't really care about this from a setup standpoint, but I just wanna give it a chance to get out of this weird, see it's got this flashing light now. I'm gonna press and hold the I button while powering. That's the bind button otherwise. Huh, you got it that time. What the heck? I'm gonna tell you something that was very frustrating. But you wanna know why it didn't work? Because it wasn't capable of binding upside down, I don't think. Why? That's so dumb. Okay, so real quick, the cool thing is we're in beginner mode and it's responding, okay? So the first thing we have to do is make sure we can trust the model. So if you guys weren't paying attention at home, what we did was we started it and then put it on its feet. Then we power cycled this while holding the I bind switch. We pressed and held power. Now, I don't know why it didn't work, but it didn't work, okay? So as you can see, real quick, we need to test this so we can trust it. Throttle cut is currently on. Camera crew, can you go around please so they can see what's going on? I give throttle and nothing happens. That's critical. Throttle cut's off. Now I give throttle and it works. Okay. Throttle cut is now on. So we should be safe. We can trust the plane. All right. When we set up a plane, we always have the plane set in such a way that we can see. We're bound, so we can unplug this thing now. That was a fiasco. Shouldn't have been that hard. And we apologize to any beginners that are trying to figure this out. At the end of the day, we're gonna help you figure it out. Even if it's frustrating, even if it's annoying, that's what we do on this channel. We always do that, okay? There is a light on the front of the plane. Of course, we can't film the front and the back at the same time. So elevator up, elevator down. Roll left, roll right. And look, it's mixing, okay? So it's doing that on the flight controller. Again, I don't want the flight controller to do this crap. I can get it all figured out from the transmitter now. Y'all left, y'all right, okay? So now we have takeoff flaps, landing flaps are not doing anything, okay? Why? I'm gonna move over to this and I'm just gonna show you that that channel is moving, okay? But it's not making that move. I don't know why. Okay, so that's changing the mode. You can tell. Should be red.
Yes.
Should
Blue.
be yellow or middle, and then that's green.
Green.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we have the mode set up right. So expert mode is correct, intermediate is correct, and beginner is correct. So in expert, we're gonna have the most throw. So we can see it moving right. Elevator down, elevator up, roll left, roll right. And look at the digital movement. That's so weird. This type of flight controller does that, but it flies okay. Y'all left, y'all right. okay? Pretty simple stuff. So this is a way I'll normally fly. Given that that's the case, I almost feel like I should rotate that, but, you know, because I would normally have this up here.
Right.
But whatever, for now, that's fine. We'll just leave it that way, okay? Now, why is channel 8 not impacting the servo? Servo setup.
We haven't actually attached it to anything, have we?
What are you talking about? It's changing channel 8. Okay. So what I need to do now is I need to go into system setup, disconnect RF, go down to channel assign. Flight mode is on channel 5, which is gear. So that's working. That part's working. The I switch is technically working. And then I'm just going to also assign this to B. One of them will make it work, hopefully. Ah, yes. So evidently that's channel 8 is actually hooked up to channel 7. So that makes perfect sense, guys. Have you connected the dots on why I'm frustrated by this model? It should not be this hard.
No.
And we've set up hundreds and hundreds of planes. Okay, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, but there is no elevator correction. Why? Because as you can see, we have ailerons, okay? This is not 2 separate ailerons. It's 2 separate ports on a flight controller, but there's only one channel.
One channel, so.
Okay, so takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Great, wow, that's amazing. But we might be able to go into, whoops, we can't go to forward programming on this one, I don't think. System setup, and you lose access to all these features that are so awesome.
Right.
Okay, so let's go to aircraft type. This might screw the pooch bad, but let's try it anyway. 1 aileron, 1 flap, okay? This is not gonna work. Rudder, 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 or excuse me, aileron, aileron, elevator, elevator. But you'll notice this isn't changing because now it's all attached to different switches. And that's okay, we'll come back and try to fix it if we can. Flaps. Okay, so that is physically attached still, but we haven't made a designation to the flap system. Okay, so flap system, I'm gonna set it to switch B. Okay, but this isn't probably gonna work, just full disclosure. Okay, so watch this. Now I need to go back down to system setup, disconnect RF, and I need to go back into channel assign, and I'm gonna unselect B, and I'm gonna unselect B. And then that is still correct. That should still be working.
Yes.
Okay. That's on channel 5. But then channel 7 doesn't do anything except it does flaps. So maybe that will work. No, look, it forgot. See? So now we got to make this actually do something. I don't know what direction it's supposed to be, so we're just trying to make a change, and it is not. But look, the elevator. Yep, the elevator is working. So even if this doesn't work, I can still get the elevator correction as part of the menu structure.
Okay.
Okay. See how it's changing? So normally you would change it like 6 and 10 or something like that, but I wanted to make sure it was changing the right direction. So let's do 6 and 10. And let's clear this to nothing and nothing. Why? Because that particular channel is actually controlling our mode, almost certainly. Okay, how do I know? When I move D, nothing happens, okay?
Okay.
So let's do this. Also, let's go to the speed. While we're in flap menu, let's set it to 2 seconds, so it'll be like a normal plane, okay? Take off flaps, landing flaps, and you can see it changing, okay? But we need to concentrate on why this is not moving the flaps. I don't know why yet, but it's not moving the flaps yet. Why is it not? Let's go to system setup, disconnect RF. Flight mode setup it's definitely set to switch D, okay? Beginner, intermediate, expert, okay? So let's go back to channel assign. There's flight mode, okay? And then flaps,
You can't assign that to anything.
Oh, hold on. Let's check throttle. Well, except we... What do you mean you can't assign it to anything?
You can't assign flaps to anything. It's already...
That's right. So channel 6...
Because I think it's doing panic.
And then gear is way up here for no reason. I just hit clear on that. Let's see if that fixes it. Ah! Look, now we're in beginner mode. Nothing, nothing. But it is moving the elevator.
Does your mode still work though?
My mode? No, it doesn't.
No.
It doesn't work. But look, if I go over to monitor, you can tell that we're actually changing the channel 5. So what the heck? Roll left, roll right. That is correct. Elevator up, elevator down, yaw left, yaw right. Throttle cut is currently on, throttle cut's off. So we have all the different channels doing the things that they're supposed to do now, okay? With the exception of flaps. So now we need to figure out what channel actually makes the crap work. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into flap system. I have to actually impact change. So I'm just gonna scroll in some random value. Ooh, they're moving. Did you hear it?
No.
Oh, that's the elevator moving. Okay, so if it's moving, I can't tell. So I'm gonna go, actually, I wanna show you one other thing. So if we go all the way to 100%, I bet this is gonna change the mode. Watch this. And then we'll do minus 100. It doesn't matter which one, I'm just trying to demonstrate this working or not. Well, it doesn't actually seem to be moving it. So that's interesting. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna walk back into system setup. This is how you figure stuff out, guys. I'm gonna go back to channel assign. And do you remember this channel? That was actually the flaps. I think that's what it was. Because aux 7 was on channel 7. Excuse me.
8.
That's right. No, it was on 7, even though it's plugged into 8.
Right.
Not right, just it was. Okay, so now the flaps are physically moving because we're controlling channel 7. This is so convoluted. Guys, I am sorry. Here's how we're gonna do it. System setup, disconnect RF, channel assign. Now that we know that channel 7 will command correctly, it will command, what we can do is we can go to mixing, normal, we can command where's flaps? Did you see it already?
I did not.
Gotta be over here then. I know it's on here. Oh, what do they call what do they call it?
7.
Wish that said flap. It's really difficult to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that is going to actually, no, aux 7 is not right. The flight controller thinks it's 6. Then we're gonna impact channel 7, okay, at a rate of 1 to 1. Look at your flaps moving. See? So this is 1 up and 1 down, okay? So there's 100% up and 100% down. So now as I go the other way, it's gonna move them. This is just a mix now. So technically, you should get the delay too. Yep. Ah, look at that. Okay, so this is gonna go down at the same time. Take off flaps, landing flaps. Take off flaps, landing flaps. So now we can command and control. Now let's check and see if it's changing our mode, which if it does, then the pooch has been screwed. No, it doesn't, thank goodness.
But does your other thing change the mode?
I'm not worried about that
Okay.
yet. Okay, the other thing, what? Now that works. Why does that work now? Nah, it doesn't work there, you see?
Wait, okay, now what?
Look, when I'm in normal flight mode, meaning the flaps are not deployed, look what happens.
Yeah.
The flight modes work, okay?
Yep.
Then when I go into this mode, when I go into takeoff flaps, it forces it into beginner mode.
Beginner mode. Well, that's
and then
fun.
when I go to landing flaps, it's still in beginner mode. Yeah. Okay, so what that tells me is that aux 7 has some impact on what would be that. Okay, so let's walk back out of here. And let's go back to let's go back to system setup, disconnect RF. Let's go to channel assign. Okay, so they're telling us that is where we need that, but that's not right. I think it's actually there. I think it's what it is. So let's just try this just for fun, just for grins and giggles. Haha. Okay. So, making sense yet, everybody? This is so ridiculous. System setup, disconnect RF, channel assign. Okay, so we're going to go to aux 5. We're going to highlight F mode. We're going to just inhibit that. And then we're going to change this all the way over to the left to flight mode, okay? So, aux 7 is actually being controlled by flight mode. Now it's controlling the flaps. This is so ridiculous. Okay, so we're gonna clear out, we're gonna reset this mix, and you'll notice it has, oh, well now switch D. Now switch D, because that is attached to that particular switch. So our flaps, yep, our flaps are changing the mode and the flaps simultaneously.
Okay.
So on monitor mode, we can start figuring out dismantling this mistake. Okay, so the flaps are moving. Is it changing the mode?
That's not changing the mode either. Neither of the.
No, it does. It's when it goes to a certain range here.
Yeah.
Watch this. There it is. You
It
guys
like
see?
flickers.
So it's on the flap channel. Okay? Awesome, right? Totally, totally awesome. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're down to system setup. We're gonna disconnect RF. We're gonna go to aircraft type. We're gonna change this back to a normal wing. Why? Because we have to, which is really freaking annoying because that's the whole point of doing the programmables so you can set up all the features correctly, okay? And I'm gonna just tell you this, guys. When you set this up with an AR631 or an AR630 or an AR637T, you can do all your setup, and then you go into forward programming, you teach it what position it's in, and then you go through the setup. It'll take you like probably 10 minutes to do that, okay? And that's watching me do it. This is very confusing and convoluted, and it's not working right because it's not really designed to do this.
Right.
So they sell the optional flaps, but they haven't really built in a feature to support it without going through all sorts of hoops.
Well, not in a way that you would use it on any other plane.
Right. So aircraft setup. Aircraft type is normal and normal, okay? Then we're gonna go to F mode setup, switch D. No problem, channel assign. Now we gotta go back through. I apologize, guys. This is the way it's gotta be. Now we can set this to actually D or F mode. Channel I got reset back to 6, which is supposedly correct. Channel 7 is not supposed to be flaps, but it is flaps. So technically it's gonna be Bravo because now we're just controlling the channel.
Right,
okay?
that's what you use.
So now we have to set up another mix, and you guys will notice we set up a mix earlier and it's eliminated because we reset it. So now look what happens when I move the sticks. Elevator up, elevator down, roll left, roll right. Takeoff flaps and landing flaps do work, yaw left, yaw right. And throttle cut is currently on, it's currently working. Throttle cut's off, and it's currently advancing the throttle. So all the features of the basic features of the plane are back to what we had on the DXS. So we have established that a normal flight wing type is all you can get away with. Now, come back over. That mode, I wanna make sure it is not interfered with by establishing flaps. Flaps, and I need to make sure that's not flickering, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into servo setup. Because this is only flaps, I can change the speed of A7. So in travel, I can highlight that and then go over to reverse, subtrim, travel. Do they not have speed on this?
Can you do that?
Yeah, you can do that on all sorts of things. Okay, so hold on. I'm just gonna check this quick and come right back. All right, so from an NX10 servo setup, I'm not gonna change anything. I just wanna see travel, sub-trim, reverse, speed. Goodness gracious.
So we just did all that, and now we're gonna switch to the 10.
I didn't even know that speed wasn't a function that we could handle.
Yeah, I didn't.
I had no idea.
No.
There's some features that you lose on the NX7 that are not really that big of a deal. And then there's features like speed of the servos that matters. Okay.
But if you were using flap system on the NX70 the way it's designed, you could, it has the thing for speed.
Why would you ever go through the trouble if you've already got a DXS that's working as good as this basically is going to work?
Yeah.
You're losing the principal function of going to the programmable transmitter, which is control the mode and control the flaps. Okay, come back around. This is just ridiculous. It makes me very mad. Servo setup, travel. They need to, the next time they release this, like for version 15, put a 631 in. We don't need a landing aid sensor. Just put a 631 in, we'll be done with it. We don't need the GPS. Okay, all right, so travel. I did not know that wasn't a feature. Now I know. Dang it. That's so frustrating. Is there another place maybe? Rates in Expo. Mixing. So now we got to mix normal. We're going to mix whatever Bravo does, which is not flaps. It's just Bravo. Oh, for God's sake. Now we have the aux instead of the name. You can go all the way up to the top and have the letter. There you go. So Bravo, we want to mix to elevator. At what rate? Okay, we want it at a rate within a certain condition. So in that condition, I want a rate of offset. Watch the offset occur. I'm going to exaggerate it a lot. Are we in beginner still?
Yes.
Okay, I'm an expert.
Now you're an expert.
So look at the offset. You see how it's going up? I want to change it and go the other way. Is it moving?
It doesn't look like it's moving.
Doesn't look like it's moving, you're right. Okay, that didn't move. That didn't move. Oh, you know why? Because if we're tying it to Bravo, Bravo is at 0. What's 0 times anything?
0.
You got it. So what we have to do is we have to actually go
to whatever, the aux 7.
No, the offset should still work. See, okay, well, let's set this one up first and see what happens. So let's go to, we want this to still be Bravo. Yeah, we could do aux 7, you're right.
Right, I just don't know if it matters.
It's not aux 7 though. Yeah, it is aux 7, you're right. So aux 7 to elevator. And we're gonna set it up in this particular one. So we'll have it tied to that and turned off on this and turned off on that. So whatever we set this up to, it's only gonna function in that middle setting. Why don't we set them up progressively? Because you gotta set up one per the way we're doing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see the 13? I don't care about that number, but I'm just moving it to see if the elevator moves. It doesn't move so far. Now offset. Now it's moving.
Yeah.
See that? But we want it to go the other way, okay? Okay, there we go. Yep, and you see as soon as I cleared that,
it snapped back.
It moved.
Yeah.
So you see that? So my concern is this. I don't want the elevator to actually change its absolute position. I just want it to offset. So that's why the rate, okay, so let's set the rate to -100, and then we can set this down. Let's go to 5. Let's see what happens here. See, if you were using the elevator, it would still work, okay? And then when you give flaps, see, it didn't move. See, there it moved. Okay, so now we need to do a second mix. Okay, so this is gonna be the same thing, aux 7. This is ridiculous. This is totally out of line. Way too complicated for a beginner. Because you're never going to do this again on another model.
No.
You know, it's just like a one-off, trying to make it work. And that's one of the most frustrating ways to do it, guys. I got to tell you. Okay, so now this one's going to be disassociated on that. It's going to be disassociated on that, and it's going to be active on this. So this is going to be the same thing. We're going to set the offset to 100 again. And it doesn't matter what the value is there. It matters what the value is here, kind of. Is it moving?
I don't think so. Not yet.
There it goes. Now it's going the wrong way. So this is, let's do 15. See, there's your neutral setting. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. So you're gonna help compensate for the ballooning. But I just don't know if that's enough. It's gonna take quite a bit to make adjustments.
Right.
Okay, so this is minus 15 and 100% offset. And then this one, in that setting, I did both, and really what it should be is just here. See how it's going up? So there's 20. Elevator, elevator. See, the elevator's moving the same amount that we expect, okay? So then that works, and it does the same thing. So if you don't know what's happening here, it's because you haven't set up a normal flap mode before. And a normal flap mode is going to allow us to have flap deflection to a percentage basis and then a percentage basis. It takes seconds to set it up. And then there's going to be a corresponding elevator correction to help with the ballooning, okay? Mm-hmm. And the ballooning on this plane is palpable. I mean, it's not a small thing. It's like use up all your elevator in Expert, use up almost all your elevator just going level, okay? So you can barely fly downhill. That is not ideal. Well, just slow down, Brian. No, I don't want to just do anything when I'm flying an airplane. I want to have full control over it all the time, okay? Uncompromising. And that's the way everybody should be. You want to be able to control your plane all the time. Come back around. So mix one, you can see it's only going to be active when switch B is in the middle. Why do we have this one and then later we have this one? Why? Because you need to do different values on different switch positions.
Right.
Okay? So now when we do a takeoff flap, then there's a landing flap. Now the other cool thing is, because of the nature of what we're doing, we can set up on the servo under travel. This is aux 7. Nope, that's not going to overdrive. I want to set up the middle point. So like I want this setting to be a little bit different. So you want to know how to do that? You go to digital switch setup. So select switch B. Now watch this. Just like flap mode, you have 100% here. That's parked flaps. They're not out. Then if I want my takeoff flaps to be less than that, I can turn this up. Look what happens to your flaps. Mm-hmm. And guess what? Now your mix is going to go correspondingly. You see that?
Yep.
All the way to 0. You guys see why we went through the trouble of figuring this out? It's not because I like making, taking my head and beating it against a brick wall. Although some people think I do. Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. So that's too much. We got to go a little bit more down. So I think 25 would be good. Okay, so you see how it's like down like that? So it'd be like a true takeoff flap setting and then a landing flap setting. So minus 100. I don't think you're going to get any more throw out of them because it's maxed out physically pinching that hinge closed. Okay, so I'm fine with that. And to be honest with you, now my only thing is there is no time delay, or I would set this to be like a 2-second or 3-second deployment.
Right.
And that's the other way you deal with ballooning, is to deploy it at a slower rate. Now, the other thing you can do is you can go to servo setup, travel, you can go to elevator and watch this. Elevator up, elevator down, elevator up. I don't care what mode you're in, just watch this. Click, scroll all the way up. Let's see if it'll work. I can't say that it's moving anymore. We're at 128. Oh, it is moving. Okay, so we're gonna go to 125. So you see how it's kind of highlighted just the one? I'm gonna go into this. I'm gonna click and just reset that setting. Oh, it's annoying when it does that. Highlight both, hit cancel. Okay, now it's back to 100. I'm gonna go to 125 on that. Why do I wanna go to 125? So I have more elevator authority, okay? It moves all the way to the top now, all the way to the bottom. And even if I go into beginner mode, it's, what?
What?
Why is it allowing me to move the elevator so much? See, elevator down, elevator up, intermediate mode, elevator down, elevator up, beginner mode, elevator down, elevator up. Okay, takeoff flaps, landing flaps. We still have our elevator correction. So at the end of the day, you know, this is complicated. It's not gonna be easy for you to take this and move it to another model. But at the end of the day, we have actually accomplished most of what we wanted.
Most.
So if you're anything like me, you're gonna think, are you kidding me, Brian? And I'll be like, no, I'm not kidding you. I'm definitely not kidding you. So I didn't realize it until tonight that the NX10 does have some features, well, in the NX lineup in general, that's not the E, that's gonna give you that. Okay, so I think even the NX6, when the 6 was out, which by the way, the 6 supposedly doesn't support certain connections. I don't know which ones it is, which ones don't.
Oh.
Is that thing not screwed all the way in? That? Why isn't it pulled down?
No, didn't we
more?
talk about there being a bump there?
Yeah, because we tightened the screw until it was so tight, like we couldn't go any further. Yeah. Okay, so now the other thing you can do is you could take off the wing and you could change the way that the elevator is physically mounted to the linkage. Because the servo has a certain amount of output and it might be on an inner hole instead of an outer hole where you're gonna get more throw, okay? So that's one other thing you can do. Because this plane needs more elevator authority when you're using flaps. Why? Because the elevator compensation has to be enough to command a level flight. It's a lot of work for flaps. So do you guys remember when I was saying, if you want flaps on this plane, my suggestion is, and I remember we did this with the DX18 years ago, and I remember having all these same annoying problems with the exception of the binding. We did not have the problem with the binding. So if you're brand new to Brian Phillips RC, there's one thing that we do on this channel well, and that is beat our heads against the wall. But we do ultimately find success most of the time, not always. We lost the speed because we chose to go with the cheaper transmitter, which by the way, full disclosure, I updated a 4.01A from March of 18 today with this. Yep. I already had to update the NX10 when we bound to the Scrappy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It was Scrappy, because we
Scrappy.
needed to update the firmware.
Yeah, that's it.
So in order to update the firmware on this, because I didn't have an SD card in it, because we don't have a ton of model memory, I plugged into the USB port, USB-C to USB-A in my computer, and then I had to click and scroll down to System Setup, disconnect RF, and go all the way down here to USB settings. And then you don't change this to game controller, you just leave it inhibit, and then this becomes accessible. Once you're plugged in, you can scroll down and change that. And it makes it accessible like you're sticking the USB port into the computer, and then that gives you ready access to the interiorly mounted micro SD card.
Yeah, that worked pretty good actually.
That was easy.
Yeah.
It was like the easiest firmware update we've done in a long time.
Yeah.
Because there isn't Wi-Fi on this.
And we also didn't show it on camera, so it went way smooth.
Yeah.
It would have been terrible.
If I did this off camera, it'd be a fine thing. This one does have Wi-Fi, but our Wi-Fi kind of sucks right now. It used to be awesome, and then T-Mobile quite literally stopped serving this area. They took something down on the tower. And so we went from and I'm not exaggerating, 800 megabits per second in the middle of nowhere to 4.
3. Yeah. 4 is good. 4 is a good day.
Shared between 6 humans that run a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. So we don't want to go back to Starlink. It was so expensive. And even though it was a huge improvement over Viasat, it was like 120 bucks a month, which was cheaper than $186 for Viasat. I'm sure it's a lot more now.
Yeah.
But we had to buy hardware with Starlink, and it went from like what, $90 a month to $120 a month, and the service got worse.
Yeah.
A lot worse.
And our old dish isn't even supported anymore, so we can't just flip a switch.
And if you don't live in the middle of the country, then you don't understand.
We're sorry.
Because there's no fiber optics out in our front yard.
Nope.
And the bid we got was $63,000 to get fiber here. So we said no. And this was many years ago. And I have already talked to 2 different companies that have already made bids, and there's some government funding, I guess, and they're thinking about maybe coming out here.
Hopefully.
Please come out here. It'd be nice.
Please take our
Not that
money.
I'm huge on government funding and it is crap. It would be really nice. But guys, these are the woes that we run into because of living in the country. But it's part of the trade-off of being able to have an aerodrome.
Yep.
Okay? Because most people are not doing aerodromes in town.
Right.
Because you're not in Class G airspace. All right, so what have we learned about the Carbon Cub S2 today?
What have we learned?
We have learned that if I had an AR-631, I could put it in this plane and I could make it work, and it would cost us, what, like 90 bucks or something?
Yeah.
Or a crash plane, okay? And that would be so much easier because I could quite literally set that plane up. I mean, if I had the thing physically plugged in, I could have it set up in 7 or 8 minutes. Nobody filming, maybe 5. And I'm talking full feature everything except for GPS, landing assistance sensor, which I don't even want. And I don't even know what the stupid light does. Well, I don't need it. It's just part of the flight mode controller.
Okay, but I'm trying to think about like where this is applicable. If you bought a micro Draco or a micro Scrappy in the like whole bundle package and you have an NX7E already, then you can buy this.
No, the NX7E would be fine because the flap menu allows you to slow down the servo.
Right.
So like I said, do you go from this to that so you can get the speed setting on the one servo?
Right.
No. And then the other thing too, we haven't established, and this is something that happened, when I have flaps deployed, do my modes still switch? Yes, they do.
In each flap setting.
Yep. Yep, and it's a fast acting thing, so if it didn't, then you would notice it.
Right.
Okay, that's important because we had problems with that on the DX18, and then later we figured out a workaround, but it was still not ideal, okay? And by the way, the DX18 was like the top of the line card at the time. I mean, we didn't have like the DD edition or the black edition or whatever they
right,
called
but
it.
there was no IX line or...
No, there was no
like
IX
it was-
lineup. There was no NX lineup. And we've since gone through like 6 or 7 transmitters that are the good ones. And I can tell you this has done all the stuff we needed.
Right.
Until today. Except for audio. And I don't really care. The audio is like, give or take.
Typically our son flies on that transmitter. And so he doesn't care as much about like the audio events, but he would care about the flap speed.
Right. And the other thing too is, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you this again, because the only thing that we'd be doing different is we would be setting up the speed of aux7. Instead of being full, it would be like 2 seconds.
Right.
So from throw to throw, it would be 2 seconds of total travel time. Okay?
Yep.
Which means that your flaps, when deployed, instead of ballooning like crazy or having this big like jerk, it would just be like me.
You said it.
So click servo setup, travel, and you would just scroll over to, dang it, I skipped it. It's my scrolly wheel. Come on. There it is, speed. So you would just quite literally go to the servo you want. Thank you for being weird, scrolly wheel. You would find one of them and you would just change it to like 2, okay?
Oh, okay.
And you would do that on both sides, but my scrolly wheel has decided to revolt right now. And by the way, I gotta say, we have hundreds of models in this. I mean, a lot more than 250. But when you get to 250, it won't let you add any more.
Right.
Because there is a function of, is there 250 models? Don't allow them to add more.
Yeah.
Well, if you have them installed and you copied from another transmitter, then it lets you have them, but it won't let you create new ones.
New ones.
So we quite literally have an NX8 sitting there on the floor waiting to be opened. Better be careful what you film in there.
No, it's okay.
So the NX8 is going to replace the NX10. This is the way we do things. Because we don't need the sliders on the back, and they just kind of, frankly, drive me nuts. I don't need them.
Right.
If you guys use them, great.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, on my DX18, I loved my sliders and never used them still.
Right. But we went with the 10 because at the time, that was the only way to actually get 10 channels.
That's right.
Because that was before.
Now, you get 14.
Right.
Well, evidently up to 20 on that older setting, which I don't even know what the heck that was.
Yeah.
Because you remember the frame rate issues we ran into?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 14 on those and 20 on the 8 and the 10.
So now what we get to do is we get to fly this and discover all the things that we missed in the radio setup. So guys, here on Brian Phillips RC, if it weren't already blatantly obvious, we do a lot of things with our stuff. Our settings, we literally spare no time expense to give you guys the full experience. And by the way, show them a real close up as I switch from takeoff. Okay, so this is normal flight, now takeoff, now landing. Okay? See that? There's the normal mode, then takeoff, then landing. Okay, so takeoff, then landing.
That's like hardly any change.
No, I know, and it really isn't, and I don't think it's gonna be enough.
I don't either.
So let's look at this. Let's go back down to mixing. And let's go to the second mix and just add, we gotta actually deploy them. So there's 15, minus 15. So we'll go to minus 30, okay? So there's normal takeoff and landing, okay? But then I wanna see what happens when I move the stick. See? So we'll have to see if it's enough or if it's too much. Because at the end of the day, we literally spare no expense to try to teach you how to do some of these crazy things. And there are times that we find great success, which is most of the time. And then there's times that we try to do something stupid like this, okay? And it's becoming more and more evident why they didn't include the instructions to do this in the manual.
Because I don't know how to explain that.
Because I don't think you're really supposed to be able to do it.
Yeah, you're right.
But guys, I've been doing this for years. Stay right there. Don't even pause. I've been doing this for years. They said we couldn't have flaps on these planes, guys. This is an example of how the YouTube channel started for Brian Phillips RC. This is so dusty and gross.
Okay, stand back.
Here's an example of a UMX, an Ultra Micro Extreme. Look how dusty that is.
Yeah, that's
that has flaps. It is so ugly, and yet this plane, this little Ultra Micro, I refused to take no for an answer, and I put flaps in it. And that is where we started. That was the stage from which we started on Brian Phillips RC. And then we had an airliner, and then the rest is history. Okay? And we did a bunch of UMX planes, like the carbon. We had a J3 Cub that I added flaps to.
Yep.
We had the Cessna 182 that we added flaps to. In fact, I still have it. It's actually gorgeous. That thing has 2 receivers in it.
Right.
And I used to complain all the time about the manufacturer saying, here's a 6-channel receiver, but we're not going to actually give you 6 channels of usable, channels. It just happened to be a 6-channel receiver, and they lock them down. Like, why do you lock them down? Just let us play with them. So at the end of the day, that's part of the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. We work with these companies. We want them to find success. We love to demonstrate how good some of these products are. But on the flip side, there's times when we either can't get things to work the way that they claim it's going to be easy to do, or their truth claims, we always put them to the fire test. Which is like, if we can't get it to work, how is the new guy going to get it to work? This is really complicated, ridiculous setup for a relatively easy feature. If it's not already built in, it really should be corrected, okay? I don't care if that's a firmware update or just going to a different receiver. But that being said, there's people that are going to need to get the GPS module And then there's people that they're gonna wanna get a sky module. Well, here's the thing, guys. When you use this older style setup, there's gonna be complications using this stuff. So what I'm gonna come back to, and this is gonna be full circle for you guys, I'm gonna tell you, if you want to squeeze the most out of life with this airplane, I'm gonna grab a receiver. I'm gonna show you what it looks like, and I'm just gonna tell you right now, this is the cheaper one that still has AS3X and safe. Those are the two features you need to get the best out of this plane, in my opinion. You can take this and you can put it in there and you can have all those features on this NX7E. And you can do forward programming and you can set it up and you can tune it to your wildest imagination. You won't need to, but you can, okay? This is what ought to be installed in a plane like this. Or a 631 just happens to have antennas instead of an internal antenna, okay? So 631 or 630 would be totally fine. If you had a 635, or excuse me, a 637T, then you would have more telemetry. Speaking of telemetry, let's click and scroll down and let's see if we do have telemetry. Okay, so let's scroll over. Now, this is a bunch of cool information that's totally useless. That is very useful. That is very good. So you actually have a demonstrable chart that shows you how much battery you have on your plane. Well, guess what? You get that on the DXS, guys, okay? And then we have altitude and speed. Are you kidding? I wonder if that even works. Again, I don't care about that. I don't need it. You know what I need? I need a flap mode. This would do it. So AR637T would be more expensive. You would get the Vario with that, which gives you your altitude via barometer. But if you need all that stuff, so be it. I'm gonna tell you this. All of these models we've done over the years, we've learned so many good things, and we have just built on what we learned. This is a good bones model. I wish it were unlocked by having a more basic receiver, which sounds so counterintuitive to the beginner. But I feel like it would be so much better of a building block for a beginner because you could learn how you're gonna do all the rest of the planes you haven't bought yet, like these. And then when you do, you'll come in more prepared or better prepared, okay? So again, full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. The DXS versus the NX7E. Remember, if you go from the NX7E into the NX10, you're gonna have all of the same frustrations, but then you can also do a deployment speed adjustment for the flaps and the elevator, which again, you can only change the speed of this, not the speed of that.
Right.
Because you're not changing the speed of your elevator
all the time. Yeah.
But what you can do is you set up a new mix and then you set the speed of the mix slow, and then you tie that back to the elevator. Can you imagine? That's 2 more mixes. And you have to tie up another channel to do that, but you have 20 of them on there. You just waste an unused channel. I call them unpluggable channels, meaning you don't have any way to actually physically interface, but you can use them from the software side of things. Okay, if anything struck a chord in this video, because Brian Phillips RC is made for the beginner and it's made for the returning, okay? RC enthusiast, smash the like button. If you want to buy this plane and you want to get the most out of it, check the links in the video description below. We'll have a link to the plane, we'll have a link to the servo, and we'll also link to the other video where we install the servo physically, correct? We'll link to the battery like we usually do, and then we'll have links to our other, you know, Brian Phillips RC YouTube channel and supporting us types of things.
This one has a lot of links because there's just a lot of options.
There's just a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, because we have to do the servo and all that stuff for the flaps mod. That all being said, if you want to know my honest assessment about this plane, the flaps are not a good fit because of the flight controller. If you have a crashed mine and fly and you want to steal the receiver out and go through a factory reset, it's not that big a deal. It's fairly easy to do nowadays. You could squeeze a ton of life out of that right here. So that's maybe the way to do it, folks. And we'll help you do it. Just check any of our plug-and fly planes that we've done over the years, and there's hundreds of them, okay?
Yeah.
And all you gotta do is go to brianphillipsrc.com or bprc.me as the short link and check sort by type. This is a beginner plane. It's also general aviation. And I think you might have like trainer or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
But either way, you can find exactly what you want to find, and then you can apply it to your unique circumstances by simply watching through the video. The other thing I like to tell people is you watch 10, 15 hours of Brian Phillips RC. That seems like a big time investment, but when you're investing this kind of money, 10, 15 hours is not that big a deal. Spread out over time, of course, for most people. You're going to learn more in those 10 or 15 hours that you don't need to watch anymore. We are literally working so hard so that you don't need us anymore because we want to grow this hobby. So how can you support us and return the favor? Because we're trying to perpetuate a hobby that we all love. Buy the planes from the links, buy the transmitters from the links, buy the receivers that replace the receiver that comes in this from the links, or the batteries. That sort of stuff is the #1 best way to financially support Brian Phillips RC. Obviously, like the video and click the bell for notifications. When you do subscribe, I'm sure you will. But then we have Patreon for monthly support, YouTube Super Thanks, YouTube members, which is also monthly support, and then PayPal if you want to just not be part of those clubs, if you want to throw us a few bucks. We appreciate it, and believe me, whatever you guys send, we've already spent it, okay? Because we have spent almost 7 figures on this property. Into perpetuity we'll be paying, okay? Oh, almost 7 on just the airplane stuff. That's not including our house. So it adds up quick, guys. And so when you start dealing with aviation related stuff, it's like, you know, put a garbage can, throw some lighter fluid on there.
And they just dump all your money in it.
That's right. That's how it works.
Sweet.
But you're helping to offset some of the pain and suffering. So maybe my kids will be able to eat still. But at the end of the day, we really do appreciate it and genuinely appreciate your support, however small it is. We're not asking one person to support us unless there's somebody that wants to do that. That'd be awesome. But we are asking you to support us when you can. And that means if there's an awesome plane that we helped close the deal on or talked you out of, find the one you do want and buy it from the links. It's the easiest way. Then we win. The manufacturers who support us win. And it helps us to make the sale to the manufacturers that we tell the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. And that's good for you somehow, because we point out the flaws in your product. So that's good for you. So anyway, remember, we got to make it work for everybody, or this whole model falls apart, okay? Do I like this plane? Yeah. Is it perfect? No. But most of them aren't, okay? Do I really like this transmitter? I actually do. I think it's a great option for a lot of people. But I tell people all day, in and out, buy the most expensive one you can afford and handle, because then you're not gonna have these stupid little tiny features get in your way of success, okay? And it's good advice. I followed it myself. Before we worked with any of these manufacturers, I had one of the most expensive ones you could get, and I got it on sale or some such thing, and I used the heck out of it. And I still have it to this day, the DX18, okay? All right, anything else I haven't? Is there any stone I haven't turned?
No.
Okay, this is supposed to be a quick one.
Yeah.
Also, we still got to fly it. Let's hope it flies good. But we will be flying this. Obviously, we lead off with the flights so that you guys don't have to watch this if you're not into that sort of thing. And that's the way we roll on Brian Phillips RC. So hopefully we helped you in a little bit of a way. We do hear it a lot that we help people. And so that's encouraging for us. And we do need encouragement after a flight, or excuse me, after an unbox build radio setup such as this, because that was pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
But it seems to be working, and we hope it will fly well. All right, that's all we got for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for being here and being part of the Brian Phillips RC community. Leave your comments down below. Leave your questions down below. We'll do our best to answer them. But I'm just going to tell you this. Some of the questions you're going to answer in the video that you skipped over. So go back and watch it, please, because I can't remember all this stuff. We have thousands of videos. Brian Phillips RC is your hub. Go there, brianphillipsrc.com. Sort by type, find the plane you want, and then find the competitor that you think might be better and compare them. Get the best for your money. Help support us buying from the links. All right, come back for more. Thanks for watching.